Hello, this is Meghnad and you're watching Sansad Watch, where we tell you what the leaders you elected have been doing for you. Here are the highlights from last week. It was the third week of Parliament and Rajya Sabha MP Anand Sharma appealed to the chair to discuss the suspension of MPs in order to find a constructive solution. The chairman said that the issue can only be resolved if both sides come together to sort it out and dismissed their request. Parliament was disrupted over demands for the removal of Minister of State for Home Ajay Mishra Teni. Multiple adjournments were filed in both houses and rejected by the speakers. Disruptions in both houses followed from Wednesday through Friday. Piyush Goyal addressed the Rajya Sabha and said that the opposition has no regrets for disrupting the house. He pointed out, quote, even on such an auspicious day when a temple's construction is starting in Kashi, they are creating a ruckus in the house, unquote. After several adjournments, the Rajya Sabha took up a short duration discussion on the Omicron variant of COVID-19. The opposition leaders were unhappy and pointed out that the health minister was not present for the discussion. A privilege motion was moved against nominated member and former Chief Justice of India Ranjan Gogoi. The motion was filed by 2 TMC MPs and 3 Congress MPs for his controversial comments. In an interview, Gogoi said he attends the House when he feels like doing so. Jairam Ramesh tabled the Joint Parliamentary Committee report on the Data Protection Bill nearly after 2 years of consideration. He said that if the government is accommodative, the opposition can discuss the issue in detail. 2 prominent groups from Ladakh, People's Movement for 6th Schedule for Ladakh and Kargil Democratic Alliance, are spearheading an agitation to get the government to add Lok Sabha seats for Kargil and Leh districts. There is also an additional demand to add a separate seat for Ladakh region in the Rajya Sabha. These 4 bills were cleared despite the disruptions. You can check out these episodes for our coverage on these bills. Meanwhile, some interesting notices were raised, questions were asked and answered, all of which we should talk about. Let's get right into it. Our main focus today is on this very important thing that is happening, which will change the way you access, use and interact on the internet forever. It is time to talk about the Data Protection Bill. A wee bit of history first. Back in 2017, the Supreme Court gave the landmark Puttaswamy judgment, which made privacy a fundamental right for the citizens of India. The thing is, that was like going on a chauraha and declaring, privacy is a right. The people were like, yay! But ultimately it was just like a declaration. There is no real law which makes it a right and provides protection to the citizens. So, conversation started on having one such law which not just protects privacy, but also details out how personal data will be handled within the borders of India. 2 years later, in 2019, a committee formed under the chairmanship of retired Justice Shri Krishna came up with a draft bill to do that and called it the Personal Data Protection Bill. It was introduced in Lok Sabha and then referred to a joint parliamentary committee headed by Jairam Ramesh. That was 2 years ago. And finally, last week, after much deliberation and consideration, the committee submitted its report to Parliament. They have suggested multiple changes to the original bill and given a giant 542-page report with all the reasons. So what I'm going to do today is condense that 542 pages into 3 main things that this report says. Let's go. Okay, so number 1, the bill does not differentiate between personal and non-personal data. You see, one of the biggest changes is the name of the bill itself. The earlier version was called the Personal Data Protection Bill. Now it's called the Data Protection Bill. The word personal is just gone. Basically, there are 2 kinds of data. There is your data, the data which you give on the internet which can be used to identify you, classify you and define your attributes like age, gender, education, qualification, etc. That's personal data. Then there is non-personal data, which is basically data that cannot be linked to an individual. It is anonymous data which can be used to create products, do research and create statistics. For instance, finding out what age group of people are interested in ordering this fascinating item from Amazon. What the heck is this face? Please don't get this for your kids. Oh, and please don't definitely get it for yourself because it's creepy. Anyway, if many people order this creepy doll and the stats of who ordered it is anonymized and cannot be linked to an individual, then it's non-personal data. So common sense dictates that personal data should have more protections than non-personal data, right? Well, tough luck because the committee doesn't think so. It recommended setting up just one data protection authority to protect all data and not classify it into personal and non-personal data. Not just that, the committee has made it worse by recommending a form of social media surveillance. The new data protection bill emphasizes on verification of users by social media platforms. The report suggests that a mechanism may be devised in which social media platforms will be held responsible for the content from unverified accounts. To do this, social media companies should voluntarily verify accounts in such a manner as may be prescribed. Essentially, the government can make it a law to give blue ticks to people after confirming their identity. Bye-bye anonymity. Bye-bye whistleblowers. Bye-bye women who want to call out creeps. Bye-bye dank meme pages. All of them are anonymous. Number 2. Social media platforms which are now designated as intermediaries should be designated as publishers of the content they put up. So they will be regulated. Now, the bill itself doesn't make this change, but the committee has said that the term social media intermediary in the law will be replaced with the term social media platform. Why are they saying this? Because there is a war going on between social media companies and the government. At the moment, whenever the government tells social media platforms to take down content, the platforms are like, we didn't post this, the users did it, not our problem. The content moderation only happens according to the rules of the platform itself, not necessarily the law of the land. So, the government has been trying to set up a mechanism where social media platforms can be held accountable for content posted by unverified accounts. The committee also pushes for this. In addition to this, the committee recommends that no social media platform should be allowed to function in India if it does not have an office here, and asks for a media regulatory authority to be set up on the lines of Press Club of India to moderate content on these platforms. I mean, Press Club में बहुत सस्ता दारू मिलता है. अब Tech Bros को भी सस्ता दारू अच्छा लगता है. Moving on to number 3. Blanket exemptions are being given to the government. Simply put, our government agencies can be exempted from any or all provisions of this act. They can get access to data as per their will and process it as is their wish without consent. You see, there is this fun little clause 35 which was in the 2019 bill. It says that the government can access data if it is in the interest of the sovereignty and integrity of India or to maintain public order. In simple words, भारत हमारी माता है, गवर्नमेंट के पास सबका डाटा है, तुम्हारा सबका घाटा है, इनका कुछ नहीं चाहता है. Thank you. The committee received a lot of recommendations for amending this particular clause for obvious reasons. So, the committee went all Indian dad on this and said, in autocratic countries that usurp global data, these conversations with regard to national security and individual freedom are not possible. Meaning, beta, consider yourself lucky that you are even able to make these demands, okay? Try doing this in North Korea, go! In addition to this, the committee also goes all Sharma ji ka beta. It says, बाजू वाले सिंगापुर को देखो, there is no data protection law applicable to the government. China को देखो, their government has access to all the data of its citizens. So yeah, total dad moves. But after all this, the committee also quietly acknowledges that there is a tiny possibility that the government might misuse data. So they added a small subclause into the bill which says that the government should only exercise this provision only when it is just, fair and reasonable to do so. Who will decide whether it's fair and reasonable and just? The people in power, of course. Yes. But all in all, more or less, mota mota, the most controversial aspects of the old bill have been replicated in the new one as well, which is disappointing, to put it mildly. Now, I must point out that these are only 3 aspects of the new bill and committee recommendations I just told you about. There are a lot more. The Internet Freedom Foundation has analyzed the bill and pointed out how economic and security interests are given more importance than individual privacy in different sections of the law. It's like they're saying, privacy वगैरह ठीक है, but the monies earned from all this magnificent data and the security of the country is more important than you. Data is the new oil, and Indian citizens are the latest most valuable oil field. I'll leave a link to their analysis below. Check it out. Moving on to questions of the week. MP V. Vijay Sai Reddy asked whether the ministry will consider counting OBCs in the current census. The government responded saying, the population census is not an ideal instrument for caste-wise, other backward class OBC enumeration of population. The Government of India has not enumerated caste-wise population other than scheduled caste or scheduled tribes in census since independence. Demands for conducting caste census have been rising. The Andhra Pradesh Assembly passed a resolution saying they will conduct a statewide caste count. Tamil Nadu, Bihar and Telangana are also demanding the same. In Uttar Pradesh, Akhilesh Yadav has made a big poll promise that they would push for a caste census if the Samajwadi Party comes to power. If more states join in, it might just force the central government to buckle and do it too. Maybe. That's all I have for you for this week's Sansad Watch. Remember, if you want to make Parliament great again, you need to watch it first. Hello friends, thank you for watching this episode of Sansad Watch, and I'm very touched that a lot of you noticed that I was sick last week. I was, but I hope my energy levels are back up. Just wanted to tell you that we are doing a live this week. Keep a watch on our social media channels and YouTube channel to find out when it's happening. It's likely happening this Friday. I will announce the time on our YouTube page. Also, we have a Christmas offer for you. From the 17th and 26th of this month, we have all of our Karare Chane mugs and masks and many more merch available on our store page. You can go here and check it out. Also, you must have noticed that we haven't covered bills of the week this week. It was because the parliament was mostly disrupted, but also because we've already covered the bills that were passed this week. So you can check out the previous episode and the previous one and the previous one where all 3 bills have been covered that were passed last week. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week.
The subscription model is something that keeps News Laundry afloat, but we need hundreds of thousands of people to completely transform the news ecosystem. So you pay for news, so it serves you. So click on the link with this video, subscribe to News Laundry and pay to keep news free, और गर्व से कहो मेरे खर्च पर आज़ाद है खबरें.